I'm sure you must have seen a news like this where it says that Dangote is planning to sell 10% stake in the Dangote Refinery. Now you may say, what does that mean? Now let me explain to you. When it comes to investing in a company, we have two categories of company. We have many, but let me now categorize it into two. We have what we call the privately owned company, and we have the publicly owned company. So when we say publicly owned company, that's what you see, PLC at the end. It means that company is listed on the floor of the stock exchange. It can be publicly owned. It is listed. That is what we call the publicly owned company. It is listed. Now we have the ones that are privately owned. So let me cite example. For instance, Globalcom. Globalcom is a privately owned company. You cannot buy their shares. So they are not listed. You can't, except maybe you know the owner, Mike Adenoga, you know the management, you now want to do insider dealing. That's the only way to own such a company. But that you want to come to the floor of the stock exchange to purchase their stocks, to buy their shares, it is not possible because they are not listed. Now, MTN is publicly listed. Airtel is publicly listed. And currently in Nigeria, we have over 150 companies that are listed, which means that are publicly owned, that you can buy their shares in the stock markets. So that is what Dangote is also referring to when he says, I plan to sell 10%, 5 to 10% of the stake of my company. I'm coming back to that interview, what it means and whether you should position yourself for it. I'm coming back to that. Now let's move on. Money Point is privately owned. Some of us don't even know the people behind Money Point or Opay. We know some faces, but not every information that we have about them. And one thing about privately owned is that their accounts, their financial statements is not made public. It's not made public because it is privately owned. But for publicly owned company, they are mandated to submit their accounts to the NGX quarterly. It is a quarterly matter. That's why you see some companies that when they don't submit, they will be delisted. For instance, one company was reinstated of recent, and that's why you see it moving on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It is called ASO Savings and Loan. They were suspended some time ago because they did not submit their accounts. Investors need to know how well are they performing. They need to know. We call it quarterly earnings report. Let's see what the company is saying quarterly. So when they don't submit, it is a matter, it is an issue. They will be suspended. Dangote Refinery, as at now, is privately owned. But Dangote Cement, Dangote Sugar is publicly owned. When we now say it is publicly owned, okay, let me mention the last one before I now come back so that you know what I'm trying to talk about. Muka Foam is privately owned, but Vita Foam is publicly owned. When we now say it is publicly owned, we are not saying that you can buy every of their shares. No. Maybe, for instance, they are listed, let's say, 100 million shares. You can buy everything. Most owners of this company, the original owners, usually keep a certain percentage to themselves. So in this case now, Dangote is saying, out of the 100%, I only want to sell 5 to 10% now. I want to sell it to the company, to the public. And it is a win-win situation. It is not a matter of they doing us a favor or he doing us a favor. It is a win-win situation. He also needs money. They need money for expansion because they want to expand the barrels per day that they are producing. For instance, from 650 now, they want to go to 700,000 per day. So they want to expand. So it's a win-win situation. They need that money. Dangote Refinery needs our money. So it's not as if they are doing us a favor. It is a win-win situation. No company suddenly comes out just because it wants to favor the public. It's a win-win situation. So Dangote Refinery is coming out now to say, okay, I'm giving you the opportunity to own 10% stake of this company. In return, you give me your money. He is now saying that in this case now, I'm keeping 90%. I only want to sell 5 to 10%, depending on how the demand is. So he said in the next 1 year, I want to sell 5 to 10%. Currently, NNPC owns 7.2% of Dangote Refinery. When we say it is owned by Dangote, we are saying it is not as if he's the owner of it all. They are investors, but all those dealings, all those arrangements are private. It is not made public. It's because NNPC is a government-owned entity. That's why this is even made public, that they own 7.2%. If not, we wouldn't have known the owners at all. But definitely it is not only Dangote that owns it. It will have supporters. It has inner investors, not the public investors. I hope you understand. For instance, most of the companies you see, they are not only owned by one man. We have sole proprietorship, yes. But most of these big companies, they have investors. But it is not something that you can buy their shares in the public. If you want to be part of such company, you want to invest in such a company, it means that you have to know the owners privately in such a way that you cannot give them money, and in return they give you a portion of the shares of the company. So at the later end, he said he intends to keep 65 to 70%. This makes sense, which means at the end, he wants the free float, what we call free float. Free float simply means what is available for the public to buy, to trade with. Now, let me cite an example. In the case of Dangote Cement, the free float that is in the market now is less than 15%, is around 13%, which means Dangote Industry Limited still owns over 80%. Still owns over 85% of Dangote Cement. So if you own Dangote Cement shares, it is out of that 15% that you own. 85% is retained by Dangote Industries. We call them major shareholders. We that will buy 100,000 shares, 200,000 shares, we are only minor shareholders. Another one is Dangote Sugar. Dangote Sugar, the free float, the one that is available for the public to trade with, the one that is available for the market to trade with is less than 30%. I think the free float is around 27%, which means Dangote Industries still owns over 70% of Dangote Sugar. So in this case, that he said the goal is at the end, I just want to own 65 to 70% while I allow the public. So when you hear that he wants to sell, it's not as if he wants to sell everything. He only wants to sell a portion. And that portion now in the next 1 year is just 5 to 10%. The question is, will you buy? Definitely, when it comes out, I'm going to buy. Why? Because Dangote Refinery has prospects. The goal, looking at the driver of this vision, he intends to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the whole world. The question is he achievable? Of course. How long will it take him? We don't know. But building wealth is also a long-term journey. So if you are not just looking at now, then it is good that when it comes out, you position yourself for it. As long as it is close to the intrinsic value of the company, the price at which it will be offered for the public to buy. As long as it is close to the intrinsic value, then definitely it is a buy, especially for the long term. Thank you so much. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do by clicking on the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we release a new video. So we meet in our next video. Stay blessed.